So this next segment that we're doing here is something that's close to my heart. I'm a big conspiracy guy.
Mm-hmm.
You know this. This is my niche. This is my area. And this is something we've talked about since before we even did the first podcast. Like something that we wanted to do, but we never really found the right topic. We never found the right time. We never found the right place. And I think today we do. So welcome to Casual Conspiracy Chat.
What the fuck are you doing right now?
All right, let's get into this.
What the fuck?
So the conspiracy we have, we're going to be talking about today is Epstein, Maxwell, and the child trafficking in the quote-unquote elite society. So first things first, we're talking about Epstein, the man who didn't kill himself. So just a little rundown of what's going to be happening here. I'm going to be telling you facts. Facts. These are real things. We spent, how many times did we get together? 4 times? Hours each?
More than that,
So
bro.
we've put in a day's work into finding real facts. These are real things. So we're going to talk about some real things, give you everything that we know that's true, and then we're going to kind of rebuttal and talk about it a little bit, but we want to make sure that you know what the facts are. So first things first, we got Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein. He is the front runner of what's going on right now. The man who didn't kill himself. Memes being slung all across the internet. So Epstein was a financier who had ties to celebrities, politicians, royalty, who was arrested last year on multiple disturbing charges. He died by suicide in jail, but questions about his life and crime still remain. Epstein started his career in New York City as a math teacher at the elite Dalton School in the 1970s. But in the 1970s, he went to work at an investment bank, Bear Stearns, before founding his own firm, the J. Epstein & Co., in 1982. So a little bit how he got in there, he lied on his resume to get the interview for the school, and then eventually he got the interview, got accepted, he was in it. Boom. And then he kind of slid through from there. In 2008, Epstein pleaded guilty to a felony charge of solicitation of prostitution involving a minor and was sentenced to 18 months in prison. But he only served 13 and was granted work release, which allowed him to commute to an office outside the jail 6 days a week. He also had to register as a sex offender. Another interesting fact is the current Attorney General, William Barr, was a lawyer that Epstein hired back in his first case. And another interesting fact is William Barr's father, Donald, was the same man who hired him at the Dalton School. Coincidence. So next, we're moving on to Ghislaine Maxwell. So Maxwell was born in 1961 in France. She was the youngest of 9 kids. Her father was Robert Maxwell, who was a British media proprietor, member of parliament, and a suspected spy. She came from, obviously, a rich family with all of that there. So there's been conflicting stories of how she got to the United States. One of them is, fun fact, her father committed suicide. After her father committed suicide, she came to the United States to kind of get away from it all. And then another story is that when her father bought the New York Daily News, he sent her to New York City to kind of take care of business for him. While in New York, she became acquainted to some high government officials, and she also lived a very low-key life. And another little fact in there, while she was in France, she did kind of slide in with some royalty there as well. Prince Andrew, and we'll get into that a little bit later. She had 2 sisters, twins, Christine and Isabel. So Christine began her career, same as the brothers, working under the father, but Isabel actually made documentaries and was more into the television side of things. They both end up founding the company Magellan, which essentially was just a search engine before Google was big. They sold that company, and then after, Isabel became the president of Comtouch, which is an Israeli-American email messaging and security company. Essentially, it's like like a parents might put on their phone, on their kid's phone, a little like app that lets them know where they are and different types of things, controlling their messages, looking at their messages, essentially that. And then after that, they became Isabel became CEO of Incognito, an Israeli web content filtering software company. She sold the company around. Turned the company around and sold it in 2005. So Epstein obviously was suicide, murdered, whatever you want to say. So do you think that the same thing's going to happen to Maxwell?
I don't believe so. So when I look at this objectively, I don't think Epstein was at the top of this pyramid. Like, I think Ghislaine Maxwell was his handler of sorts. She seemed to have been the person going out and soliciting for talent for this sex slave cult or whatever you really want to call it. And I think that there are people above her. Like, I think that she's connected to the top of this chain and whatever this ring is of elite people going in and out of his island. Like, I think he was kind of the scapegoat, if you will. So I think she does have information that would be better off useful if she was dead. But I think she's so high up in this, is I've heard people talk about like a failsafe where like if she dies, like a USB gets sent out to all the major news networks to give names and proof and things like that. But I think that she's intertwined to the top of this pyramid, that she might be one of the runners. I don't think she's going to give the feds any information. And I think the reason Epstein was, suicided was because he...
That's a great verb for it.
like, he was low enough in it that he felt like he had leverage to use against these people. I think that he had enough, because I also read something about how there are videos of these people doing their acts during these parties, and like Ghislaine Maxwell has videos of all of this, and I think Epstein got taken out because he was willing to like, yo, I'll share some of these videos with you, I'll tell you some of these things. So plus you got to think like he was on suicide watch and they got taken off, and then, all of a sudden he died. Like it's just kind of crazy the way it all played out. So I don't think that's going to happen to her. I think she's high enough in this where they got to really give her a deal if they want her to start talking. But I also think that she's not going to be okay whether she does or she doesn't. I don't think she's making this out alive whether she talks or she doesn't talk. So do I think she's going to get killed in jail? No, not specifically. But if she talks, she's going to die. And when she gets out, or if she's in jail, like depending on how the trial goes, I think she's going to die as well. Do I think she's going to die before trial happens? No. I don't think the feds are going to let that happen. But
if I had to, I would assume that she's going to prison and she'll just die in prison. Like she'll
probably just... Do you? So there's gonna be like a year in between, like when they got her and the start of the trial. Isn't that a little weird? What if the feds are the people? What if they're the top of the food chain in this pyramid?
I mean, I don't think the feds are, but I think the people who own the feds are. I mean, if we as we go into this more, and when we get into the last topic, we'll get into more of like the government stuff of it. I think it's just a government thing. I think you got politicians and like who runs the feds, who runs all this stuff, like the politicians and the high people in Congress and stuff. Another thing with her being the handler, when you look at their relationship, they aren't married. They're not dating. They don't refer to each other as girlfriend, boyfriend. They kind of refer to each other as best friends, and for somebody to be this involved in something like that and to not be in a relationship, it's just super weird that you would have somebody like Maxwell who is always watching you. Always. Like, she's always there, and it's just, it's super weird, especially since, like, he's the man who's been the face, whereas you really, besides for those facts that I gave, you really don't know much about her life. Like, when we were reading through the facts and stuff, it literally went from she moved to the USA, she was invited to Hillary Clinton's, or Chelsea Clinton's wedding. Like, there was, like, a huge time jump where you don't know anything about her, and she already met Epstein, and, like, where did she meet Epstein? Nobody knows. And then apparently Hillary Clinton said that she was only invited because she was the girlfriend of a acquaintance of them, which I'm assuming would be Epstein. I think she picked Epstein because Epstein had enough money to be involved with these people. When we get into the flight logs, Bill Clinton talks about how the only reason he was really involved with Epstein was because he gave a lot of money to fundraising and stuff like that, which is like how you get in with these people. And I think he just had the money and the time and the place, and he was in the right spot to get in with those people. So she came to the U.S. She found a person who could get her into these positions, and boom, she was in. Like,
so it's also an interesting thing to bring up is that when they arrested her, one, she was just chilling in New Hampshire, living in a house under an assumed name, and she also was confused as to why she was being arrested. She figured she had immunity because everyone, like, they could only charge her for things in between a certain period of time. So she figured she was in the
statute of limitations or whatever it is.
Well, it was just that people from the Epstein case were given immunity in some particular fashion, and they could only get her between the years of like 92 and 94 or something. So she thought she was good money. She was not, like, yeah, the feds couldn't find her, but it didn't really, when they got her, it didn't really seem like she was hiding from anything.
So Epstein had a plane, and there was, the flight logs were leaked or given out, and some of the big names that you might find in this flight log, we have Akon, damn man, Barack Obama, Ben Affleck, Beyonce, Bill Clinton, my man Bill Clinton was there a couple times, Brian Affleck, Bill Murray, Chris Wagner, Chris Tucker, list goes on, Demi Moore. Fun fact, look up Demi Moore kissing this kid. Super weird. We'll add it. James Franco, Jim Carrey, my man Marshall Mathers, a couple other big names, Tom Hanks, Will Ferrell, Will Smith, Woody Allen, Seth Green, and then Robert Downey Jr., and then we get to my man Kevin Spacey. So it turns out Kevin Spacey has actually had a little bit of a relationship with Maxwell. So Kevin Spacey was invited to the throne room as Bill Clinton's guest along with Maxwell. And then on the screen we'll show a picture of Maxwell and Kevin Spacey sitting next to each other there, looking like they're about to hold hands. And another little fun fact, we're not going to get too much into Kevin Spacey, we all know what happened, but Kevin Spacey, 3 of the accusers wound up dead.
An interesting thing to bring up about Kevin Spacey is those 3 people died, and it was like weird things, car crashes. One of them was they didn't give a reason, and the other one was suicide.
Yeah.
So a couple weeks after the last accuser of Kevin Spacey committed suicide, he came out with this weird video. Like, everybody thought it was weird. Kevin Spacey, yes. So he came out with this video that he did in the moniker of the character he played on House of Cards. But it was bizarre because he seemed to have been talking about the allegations in the moniker, like in character. It was just weird. So what's also interesting are there are rumors that the mug that he had on in the video, or the mug that he was using in the video, had royal crests on it from the royal family. And they also say the ring he puts on in the video was like a masonry ring of Freemasons. So, like, it's also interesting to note that nobody came out after that last person died in that video to accuse Kevin Spacey of anything, and his charges were eventually acquitted because nobody was stepping forward anymore. Like,
that's what I was gonna say. Like, it dropped. Like, you don't hear about it anymore.
Yeah. So
nobody even really. I didn't know what the verdict was. I didn't know what happened with it. I just thought it was like, oh, there it goes.
He got canceled, definitely, but it's just weird the way it all played out, and I think people kind of think he was kind of sending a message like, yo, you'll get taken care of, or maybe even sending a message to the royal family like, yo, you better take care of this because I don't want to deal with this no more. I got facts.
And when you think about a lot of the way that secret messages get sent out, a lot of it is video with small cues, like, you know, like they're moving their eyes to Morse code and like little things like that. So it's definitely plausible that, like, because if you're under the scrutiny and stuff, you can't just call the king and queen like, yo, what's up? You need to do something. Like, you'd have to find a way to do it. And why else would you make that video? Especially because that was after he got canceled, right? That was after he was. So, like, why would you even go and replay a character of a show that you got canceled from? It's just it's a super weird thing. I don't know. gives me chills talking about it. So Prince Andrew said I was going to talk about him a little bit. He had allegations set to him that he was having sexual relations with a young girl. And on the screen right now, there's a picture of him with the young girl and Maxwell in the back. Weird. He also stated himself that he only met Epstein through Maxwell in 2000, and he knew Maxwell from when she went to college in the 1980s. So their relationship goes back quite a bit.
So that's the kind of shit I'm talking about, bro, about her not being her being connected to the head of this, because she had connections to the royal family. Like, she had connections to the Clintons. Like, she was the one who introduced Epstein to these people. Mm-hmm. So, like, I just think that there's more going on for her. I think she's a bigger part of this, and Epstein was kind of the scapegoat. I think that's why Epstein died for real, because he was low enough on the totem pole to be like, all right, we can get rid of you, and then he's the face of it right now. Like, you don't know who's moving in the shadows for real. So I just think with the whole Prince Andrew thing is like, one, how you put yourself in that position.
Yeah.
Two, how it's said that the throne room is like untouchable. You don't go near those thrones, and they look like they were having a good old time. They look like they're a little saucy, like yeah. So I think that she had these connections already. I think that she's what connects Epstein to all these people. Her, like, she's in the back of that picture, and she's in the back of a lot of pictures, bro. Interesting fact about Ghislaine Maxwell: there is a picture of John Benet Ramsey. It is rumored to be right before she died. It's not the last picture before she died, but seemed to be at a pageant that she won. And in the background is a woman who looks incredibly close to Ghislaine Maxwell.
But we'll have that picture right now.
Is fucking wild, bro. And for all those people out there, saying that it is not Ghislaine Maxwell, I don't know anybody else in the whole world that has that cheekbone nose combination with that haircut. Bitch has been rocking the same haircut since the 1970s, bro. I don't know anybody else with those combinations of things. So I'm not saying that she killed John Benet Ramsey, but it's a little weird.
You look at the picture, you let us know. The thing with that Prince Andrew thing is, like, so he came out and he was like, oh, well, I didn't know Epstein until 2000 and I didn't really talk to him. But, like, bro, you have a picture with your arms around the girl who accused you of sexually assaulting her with Maxwell in the background. How much farther can you get into this than that? Like, granted, it's not proof. It's not like it was a picture of them having sex or anything, but, like, that's the closest thing to proof that I could see without going that far.
So another interesting fact about Prince Andrew is that after he was convicted of his crimes the second time, like, the accusations were already out there, he's a proven sexual offender. The second time, Prince Andrew flies to New York to supposedly tell Epstein that he didn't want to be acquainted anymore, and then stayed at his New York estate for 4 days. When asked why in an interview, my man said because it was a convenient place to stay. He's not the only one, though, because Bill Gates is rumored to have taken many flights on the Lolita Express after he was convicted, and the reason he said was to raise money for a fundraiser. One, why do you need a child predator's money? And two, you are Bill fucking Gates, bro. You raised all that money when you fucking made the Xbox. Get out of here.
And so I'm just going back real quick. So when was Epstein? I just read the facts. So in 2008. So 2008 is when he pled guilty to everything. So at this point, if it's post 2008, there is no excuse, not a single excuse to why you would still be talking to this man. And like you said with the Prince Andrew thing, imagine going to somebody's house. Imagine I came to your house, right? Yo, what's up, dog? I don't want to fucks with you anymore. We're not cool. But, like, you cool if I stay here for 4 days? Like, yeah, what?
That's crazy.
Excuse me?
Yeah.
And the only reason he really said that was because there was pictures of it. Like, there were pictures of him at his place. So obviously, at that point, what do you do?
Just damage control.
Yeah, 100%.